Hey guys, it's Runchuks from BluffTheSpot. This time Tobi joins me for another episode, and as always we discuss a wide variety of topics. Managing money, work ethics, and workloads were the highlights for me, but there's much more here as we talk about the GalfondChallenge and even rail it for a bit. We talk about the old school versus new school in poker, about the ego battles, and much more. I hope you enjoy it. You can find timestamps in the description. That way you can jump to the topics that you're interested in. And I'd really appreciate if you guys leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. I enjoy the interaction. It helps me select the topics for future episodes and hopefully helps to do a better job at delivering the material to you. And of course, if you enjoy the video, then hit that like button as it helps to support my channel. Enjoy! Hello guys, hello everyone. So Tobi is joining me again after a bit of a break. It's awesome. Glad to have you back.
Thank you for having me again, and I'm also glad to be back.
How about before we go into any other topics, tell me about your plans for the year.
Yeah, a lot of things have happened here, and I'm married now. So
congratulations.
That's why I didn't focus on poker. And yeah, I think as a husband, I have to be more careful now. Gotta be more responsible with the swings.
Right.
Yeah, I think for this year, my main goals are to game select better, decrease the variance whenever I can, and also play less live tournaments, play more online, and just treat it more like a regular job and, play as much as I can.
Right. So you basically focused on reducing the variance and kind of staying at home a bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I know the feeling exactly, except, when I was planning, which was like last year, I decreased the amount of time I go play live. So I focused completely on my online games, and I didn't set out to lower the variance. So in fact, I definitely increased it. So yeah, good luck with game selection and all that. Super important.
So in hindsight, do you think it was a good decision?
Well, it's not like I had much choice, right? Considering, at some point in anybody's life, you come to a point where you just have to choose what's more important to you. Is it your job or is it your family? And it's not really a choice for me. It's just an easy decision. It's not like I even dwell on that. It was something that I knew I'm going to have to do at some point. I did it and I'm happy. If I didn't do it, I would be probably still happy, but it would have been a different life.
Yeah, I also feel like sometimes it's good to have less choices because, there's no choice. You have to do this. And so there are also no regrets.
Yeah, that's very true. And in general, like, there's an awesome book. It's not a new book, but I think the name was Paradox of Choice. And it talks about, that how having more choices actually confuses us and makes the life more difficult in many ways. And I think in poker that applies very much. Even if we talk about just the basics of poker, like creating your strategy, sometimes having a simpler strategy just makes your life so much easier. And obviously, simpler strategy is also easier to execute correctly.
Yeah. Also in other areas of poker, for example, if you can't decide if you want to play PLO, if you want to play Hold'em, if you want to play tournaments, if you want to do it all, then it's also sometimes easier if you just, choose one and then go for it.
Yeah, that's very true. Super excited that GalfondChallenge finally kicked off. It's happening right now. They're going to be streaming every day, or at least so they plan, 4 hours a day. Super nice. Very happy about that. So you guys, I hope you don't tune out and go watch that instead, but it's going to be something super fun to watch. I'm probably going to be commenting myself as well on some of the streams. I don't know which ones yet, but probably going to do some commentary. So that's going to be fun. A new experience for myself as well, because I usually don't watch that much poker TV, or not at all, to be honest. What about you, Toby? Do you watch? Well, I mean, you have to, because you play the tournaments, so you have to know your opposition, and you're probably a bit more interested in what's going on there, right?
Yeah, exactly. But also, even for me, it was not something I enjoyed doing. It was more like I felt like I had to. Especially live poker, it's just sometimes so boring to watch, and I don't really enjoy it. And I
Yeah.
think, most of the viewers, they think that it's all their money and that everybody has 100%, but it's not that way. Most of the good players sell a lot of action, and then it takes away a lot of the excitement.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you just look at it from a romantic perspective of like, oh, there's so much money at stake, blah blah blah, and when you know that it's not really the case, that kind of takes away the enjoyment a bit. Even though there's nothing wrong with selling action, I mean, it's just a smart decision for most people.
Yeah, it is definitely.
Yeah. Coffee Attack
And
is here as well. Thank you for being here. He's even pointing out that we're stealing his attention from the Galfond stream. I love it. I'm happy to hear that.
oh yeah, I love it too.
Yeah. So
To be honest, I'm even more excited about the challenge. I would much rather watch that because in live streams, when you watch live poker, sometimes there's just not much happening. There's just 50 standard spots in a row, and
right.
there's no takeaways. You can't really learn something, and I think that's going to be different here.
Yeah, and also the thing that I really like, because if we think about like the great shows in poker, they used to be like high stakes poker, for example, right? And one of the beauty of that show was that you would get to know these people, because same people in every season, and then you start, rooting for somebody. It's pretty hard to root for somebody unless he's your friend when you're just watching live poker tournaments. And I feel like here with the GalfondChallenge, it's going to be pretty long affair. Even if they play like 1,000 hands per day, it's still going to be around 25 days or so with Veni Vidi. So Veni against Galfond, right? So over a period of basically a month, you would be rooting for the guys, and there's going to be a lot of swings and a lot of things happening, and that's going to be part of the excitement.
Okay, so who are you rooting for?
Ah, man, it's really tough. It's a tough one. In all of the other challenges, I'm definitely rooting for Phil. On this one, I'm quite in a tricky spot because I know Vinny quite well for quite some time already. So I'd rather not say who. I'm rooting for a good game. Let's put it this way.
Okay. That's a boring answer, to be honest.
Yeah. No, because to be honest, I don't even know. Because I think the beauty of this matchup is there are a lot of unknowns right now, because nobody basically knows the true level of Phil at the moment. Nobody knows how much preparation he did and how good was it. I suppose for a lot of people, Veni is quite an unknown as well. So, there's this aspect of like a lot of viewers are in the dark. And I think that's a pretty cool aspect. So I sort of don't even know. And it's like old school against new school. Who do you want to win, right? Tough.
Oh, but is it really? I don't know. Maybe you can see it like that, but I don't really see Phil as an old school player. Because for me, still he's like from the internet generation, and he plays a lot online. I don't know.
Right. Well, no, I would still view him. I mean, old school. Yeah, you're right. Maybe old school is stretching it, because clearly, like we would say, okay, Doyle Brunson is old school, right? Or I don't know, Sammy Farha is old school. Phil Galfond in this lineup is old school, right? Because Venny is obviously
So
he's been around for a long time, so of course he was still one of the guys who started studying with that like before solvers, right? So his study approach was probably similar to Phil's, but then once the solvers caught up, I think Venny did spend a lot of time working on his game with the help of the new tools, whereas Phil, I don't think so. Right, so that
okay.
sort of sets them apart. But that being said, Phil is still incredible with his decision-making process, and it's a huge asset. And in the end of the day, solver or no solver, I mean, nobody can execute the solver strategy perfectly. Memorization in PLO is really not a thing. So it's more about understanding concepts. So let's say for Venny, the work with solvers would be mostly around understanding the concepts of how to create your strategy. And I'm sure that, the difference between Phil and Venny, and I didn't watch the match just yet, but I would assume that Venny is going to have a more complex strategy on the flop, especially with more sizing options, whereas Phil is going to go a bit more basic. But in the end of the day, it's only about their execution. How well can they actually execute their plan? And I mean, Phil is one of the best in that regard.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me what you just said, because I think that edges are getting smaller and smaller, but I think in PLO there's still not enough mixing with sizes and splitting ranges. I think that's where you still can gain an edge. And that's what you just talked about, what you think Venny's trying to do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to try to. I mean, even if we think about his regular game before he even did the preparation, and I'm sure he did a lot of preparation for the challenge, he's out there battling the best on a daily basis, right? So he has to, like anybody at these stakes, the difference in how complex a strategy you can create and still execute it with good accuracy, that sets the players apart. And in my book, Venny is definitely, up there with some of the best.
Okay, last time I checked, he was also the favorite to win the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You can bet on it. What's the name of the site again? I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot too, but I know what you mean. Yeah, that betting site for... I don't know. People can look it up if you're interested. But wasn't it so that everybody was favorite against Phil? I mean, everybody from the pros. Obviously, he's still... Well, the online pros, rather.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure, because last time I checked, I only saw the challenge against Venny. And I was surprised how big of a favorite he was.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it plays out. I think there's a lot of the fact that so many unknowns in here as well. Like probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest opponent that Phil's going to be facing is going to be ActionFreak. But a lot is going to depend on how Phil is doing in the other challenges leading up to that, right? Because a big part of this challenge is going to be psychological. Just being mentally strong and being able to, keep showing up, because it's not an easy thing. They have to play 5 or 6 days a week. I don't remember. Phil published the terms, and you are not allowed to skip a day. If you're skipping a day, you're paying a penalty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a tough one. It's really a big marathon, and Phil is a unique player in that sense that he loves to play super long sessions. So for him, he's actually in his element. Like when I was considering this challenge myself, that was one of the things I really didn't like about it. The fact that it would force me to play every day for long sessions. Phil thrives in these situations, so, that's sort of in his favor a bit. Because even if we think about it, like the challenges that are happening not publicly, because right now there's a couple challenges in the high stakes heads up world in PLO against several opponents, like several guys playing each other. And sometimes you would see that, the opponents would be potentially mismatched in terms of, their technical knowledge. But then one of them would gain an advantage by forcing the other to play more tables. If the other guy, let's say, is very good at multi-tabling and he believes that, stretching the attention over more tables gives him an advantage, it's a great thing. And in a way, maybe this experience of playing super long sessions and like these huge marathon sessions is actually a benefit for a kind of a plus for Phil that's gonna come in handy, especially towards the end of the challenge.
Yeah, I guess it's true. But I also saw that ActionFreak has been playing a lot lately. Somebody commented also, SmurfC. And yeah, I mean, I saw that when I logged onto PokerStars today. They played heads up, and also yesterday, and I think also the day before. So seems like he's preparing for the challenge.
Yeah. He's ActionFreak is preparing every day. He's playing against Linus, so he definitely found a tough opposition to practice against. The thing is, when sort of, I'm not even sure if he's preparing. From a technical perspective, like he's preparing his game plan. I think he's more preparing the actual execution of how to play a challenge, right? Because he's basically doing the format right now himself, like every day, 5 days a week, long sessions. Because that's part of something that you need to get used to, right? Because it means nothing if you're a better player on paper, but when it comes to like playing a 6-hour session 5 days a week, you get super tired after 3 hours and you start making bad decisions the last 3 hours every day. Well, your edge basically goes out of the window. So that's something you have to prepare for as well.
Yeah, for sure. Smurf is saying that they have been playing for weeks now. And I think that's super interesting and super exciting because, I mean, as everybody knows, Linus is the No Limit Hold'em and boss. And I'm super excited about that. And I just want to know if he can also get the crown in PLO. I'm not sure when he started to play PLO, but that would be incredible.
That would be incredible. I don't know if... well, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I think in the high-stakes community right now, there's not so many people who are keen on proving a point, right? Just proving to the world that you're the best. Don't think there's too many ego battles going on, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it might be hard, My point is that it might be hard to... Well, sort of it will look like, okay, you reach the top and nobody wants to play against you. But there might be many reasons why people don't want to play against you.
What do you mean by that? Are you just talking about variance and...
Yeah, I mean, the point is that, like, for example, you said your goal for this year is to reduce your variance and game select. Let's say if Linus is sitting at the 10K Zoom PLO on PokerStars, why would you be interested to just jump in and prove a point? I mean, if you think you have an edge, of course you're gonna jump in, but it's Linus. So how much of an edge, even if you have an edge, how much are you gonna have?
I'm not sure about that. See, a lot of poker players and also a lot of the very good ones it's for them. It's not really about the money anymore. I think. For example, guys like Jungleman, I think they just want and need a challenge, and they're really, really competitive.
Yeah, I suppose that's why we see Phil doing this challenge. Probably one of the reasons as well. Let me actually bring up the thing, and we're gonna, because I don't want to spend the whole show on talking about the challenge, and I'm gonna bring up the challenge the way it looks. That's the stream from Run It Once Poker Twitch account. So that's how it's gonna look like. They're gonna be streaming every day. Highly recommend you guys to tune in once in a while. Not right now again, right? But in general, I think it's gonna be a cool thing. I haven't listened to the commentary much, just the beginning, and I don't know. I suppose the format is that they're gonna have a regular host and different commentators, that like analysts, what they call, and like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm probably gonna be one of them at some point. So I'm quite looking forward to that. For now, I think they're not showing showdowns, unfortunately, which kind of diminishes the. Or are they showing showdowns? I don't know. Haven't watched enough of that. But anyway, that's something for another day.
I mean, maybe we'll see in a second.
Yeah. Well,
Ace 9-5. What happened?
Ace 9-5. Let's see what happened. Right, but just to let you know, guys, we're not gonna spend the whole time. I don't want to really like rail the game and try to comment. We could try that at some point, but there's so many other topics to talk about today. Because, for example, last week I did a stream myself alone, and I announced the giveaway that basically anybody can participate in and get 1 hour of free coaching from me. So the deal was that you need to comment on my previous YouTube video, so the YouTube video for that show. And we had so much input from the viewers. It was incredible. I'm still sifting through all the advice. There's so much great stuff. Because I asked people to okay, what do you think about the name of the show? Do you have any suggestions? There's a list, great ideas. Do you have any ideas for the topics? Huge list. We can basically just follow the list, and we're gonna have things to talk about for the next few months at least. So yeah, I highly recommend, if you haven't already, go to my YouTube channel and watch that video. Comment on it, and you still can get a chance to participate and get the free 1 hour coaching, because that proposition is till the end of January.
Actually, I have to say that I was surprised, because it seemed like most of the viewers wanna hear more about not really about the game, not really about the strategy, but more about stories and more about how you structure your daily life and how you implement poker. And I think, to me it was surprising.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if it was surprising for me. It was very encouraging, because these are actually the things that I want to talk more than just the strategy, right? Because these things are so hugely important to anybody's success in poker, and yet somehow they're not talked about often enough, I feel. So us talking about them, first of all, in these conversations, most often after every stream, I learn something myself, right? And that's super useful, clearly. If I'm going to be doing this, I might as well learn something, right? It's cool, super encouraging to see people coming up with so many ideas. And like you said, yeah, mostly it's about, they want to hear about routines, about some things. So let's jump right in it, because I know you told me you're trying out the intermittent fasting.
So I gained quite some weight after Christmas, the usual. And I didn't feel good about myself. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was just a little belly, but still, I wanted to lose some weight. And then I read a lot. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube. There is this one guy I especially like. His name is Thomas the Lauer, and I saw that he promotes the
Hey guys,
intermittent
it's
fasting
Runchuks
and
from
also
Bluff.
the keto diet. And keto diet is a little too strict for me, and so I thought, okay, I might as well try the intermittent fasting, and so far I love it. So I do the 16 and 8 fast. So I don't eat for 16 hours a day, and then I have an 8-hour window where I can eat, and maybe it's also a placebo effect, but I feel like I feel much better because even the way I see food, it's just I'm so happy when it is 2 o'clock and I can finally eat, and I haven't had that for a while, because usually you just eat something and you're not happy about that. And I'm also doing this because I saw that it has a lot of benefits. If you're talking about mental fitness, and I think that's also one of the main reasons I want to try to do that.
Right.
So yeah, and so far it's only 2 weeks in, but I lost like 9 pounds already, or like 4 kilograms, something around that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to keep doing that for sure.
Okay. Does it make you feel any different? Like, do you have more energy when you're playing? I mean, it's too early to say, 2 weeks, but do you feel any different?
Yeah, I feel like my mind is more sharp. I mean, it's as I said, it's only 2 weeks, and maybe that's a placebo effect, but I definitely do feel like my mind is a little more sharp. And but the last time I wanted to lift weights, I had a hard time. That was really hard. Yeah, I feel like my stamina went up, my endurance, but my strength went down, and my mental clarity improved.
Okay.
And I lost the weight.
And so is it easy or is it hard?
I mean, for me, it's easy, but I think you have to get used to it. So the way I do it is like I go to bed around like 2 usually.
Mm-hmm.
So I stop eating at around 10, and then I wake up at around 10, and I can't eat for 4 hours. So no breakfast, and then I can start eating again at 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I actually was listening to a podcast. I don't remember who did it. I think it was Tim Ferriss did a podcast with Penn Jillette just recently. Super interesting. I mean, obviously Penn Jillette is super funny, interesting guy. The guy from Penn and Teller, the magic show. And he's doing a very extreme version of intermittent fasting. He's doing like 23-1. So he doesn't eat for 23 hours and then he eats for 1 hour. He actually just eats for 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, I don't really care about exactly what he's doing because everybody probably at some point finds their own, things that they work for them. But what I found really interesting, one thing that Penn said was that, when he started that, he asked, because basically the guy who invented that whole procedure, he was guiding Penn through the process. So Penn asked him, so it's going to be easy, right? I'm just going to lose a lot of weight quickly. And the guy told, oh, no, it's going to be very, very, very hard, right? But so Penn is saying that basically changed his, the way he views things, because he realized, always in life, he would be viewing like, to achieve success in business elsewhere in life, it's always hard. There's no shortcuts, right? You need to do the work. You need to dig in, and it's always hard. And somehow he had this illusion that for whatever reason that fixing your health is supposed to be easy, because there's probably a lot of advertising about get fit by doing like 3 minutes of cardio a day, or buy this new piece of equipment is going to change your life, etc., etc. But once he realized that, why should it be easy? Everything else is hard, so why should this be easy? It kind of changed his life, and then he's saying he never looked back. Now he's super fit, etc. Well, I mean, super fit. He's fit enough, from where the starting place to where he is now. It's incredible. And I thought, isn't that super interesting? Because I believe a lot of poker players have the same misconception about what it takes to be successful in poker. Because even sometimes, with my students, not so much with my students, because, we select our students by mutually discussing and understanding whether we can work together. But I would get a lot of people coming in with an idea of, oh, well, this is going to be super fun. You're just going to give me some material, and I'm going to study a bit. I'm going to start crushing. But really, if you want to achieve great success, why would it be easy? If it was easy, then everybody would be able to do it. It's not, and that's the beauty of it. You have to actually do the work. And there's another parallel, many diets work for many people. Like some people swear by intermittent fasting, some people swear by keto diet, some people swear by carnivorous diet, vegan diet, whatever, you name it. There's so many diets. And clearly, many of them work for different people. But in reality, it's the same with any aspect in life, same with poker. We were talking earlier about, Phil having a different approach to studies and a different approach to the game than his current opponent, Veni Vidi, right? Clearly, it's working for both of them. It's working on in different ways. So there's no one-size-fits-all solution kind of thing.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, whenever I see something, with the title, get fit in 3 minutes, or lose weight in 5 days, or become the best poker player in 7 days, you already know that it's just bullshit,
Yeah.
And it's never easy.
Yeah, it's so true. Because even if we think about it, like sort of the most clicked videos on YouTube are always going to be like, oh, the top 3 tips to make $1 million playing poker, or whatever, things like this. Things that don't actually exist. There's no top 3 tips that are going to make you all the money in the world.
But also, if you want to, from a marketing standpoint, that's what you want to do, because that's just what people want to watch, that's what they click.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know that we need to do it as well, and we're doing it in some ways. You have to put a name to a video, and it's just how things work. But I think it's a super important point to make that, it's not easy. Like if you ask anyone who achieved big success in poker and is actually consistently successful, not just a one-time wonder and disappearing in like a year or two, but people who are consistently very successful, if you ask any of them, I really doubt that anybody's going to say, oh, it's easy. It's been easy and it's still easy. I doubt it.
Yeah, that's true. If you had to choose, what is the thing you hate the most but gives you the most benefits?
Wow, in poker?
In poker.
Wow, what a good question. Yeah, made me think. One of the things I hate is reviewing my hands. really. Even though I know how hugely important it is, but usually playing a session, I would have many hands that I want to replay, and many hands that I have questions about and I want to investigate. But then very often I don't. I just select like one of them maybe, and not even every day, not after every session. And I know that I'm supposed to be doing it, but I just hate to do it. And very often it feels like I have better uses of my time than that, and I have better ways to improve, yet I know that it would be important.
Okay, so is it only about losing hands or just hands in general?
No. Because usually what happens when I'm playing, and that's something that I advise people to do in general, like when I'm playing and I'm not sure about the decision, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't even have to be a big hand. In fact, mostly it's not a big hand. I'm just not sure, and I think, well, I better check it. And then, what happens if I play a long session, I might have like 6 or 7 hands, which I marked. And then it's just too much work. And then you're like, oh, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, for me, it's usually notes. I just don't like taking notes because I feel like it takes so much time, and also I need the attention for other tables. And I don't like doing it, but I should do it more often and more consistently.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do it, but, maybe I should do it more detailed and, should write down everything I see at the tables. Sometimes I don't do that. And then, of course, if you see the same opponent 3 weeks later, you don't remember what he was doing.
Yeah, that's very true. But, I think it's super important also to note that anything that you do is only useful if you're actually using it after. Let's say, I know some people who take a lot of notes and never look at them. What's the point of that? It's better to take, like you do, occasional note, but like a really important one, but then use it. All right.
Yeah.
Same with the hand review, because like with the hand review, I feel like a lot of benefits from hand review are actually by making notes about your opponent's tendencies, not only about your own play. I mean, you're definitely learning something along the way, and you're probably catching some of your deficiencies in your thinking process or the knowledge of the spot. But very often you can actually, especially if you see the showdown of the opponent, you can make very good notes.
Yeah. I also feel like marking the hands is super important for me. Even if I don't look at the hands after the session, I feel like sometimes I have a problem in a spot and I see it over and over again. For example, somebody limps and I'm not sure if I should raise the big blind or not. Mm-hmm. And then just by clicking mark the hand, I just see that it's the same spot, and then I realize that I have to work on this spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly it's a great thing that if you can, see that you have a recurring problem, that means that that's something really needs to be worked on. In fact, today I had a student with session with one of my students, and I touched upon exactly this point of, he was interested in reviewing one hand, or rather, going deeper into one specific situation pre-flop. And we only had a 1 hour schedule, 1 hour session scheduled. So I told him that, listen, you know what, we can spend time on this, but it's not productive, because if we think about it, this hand is going to happen maybe one time in 500 hands, right? Whereas you have leaks in hands which happen probably like 15 times in 100 hands. So,
That's what I love about poker. When I find a spot and I see that I have to work on it, and it's a big discovery sometimes when I just see, okay, I have a big leak there and I can work on it and I can thrill it. Usually what I do is I look at the solution in Monker and just have a number, a random card generator, and then ask myself the question, what would I do with this hand? And then that way I can drill it and improve my game.
That's a very good approach.
Yeah, just this feeling of finding a spot and improving it. It is super nice. I love it.
All right. Well, listen, Tobi, we had a question from, and by the way, guys, if you have any questions now in the chat, do ask them, and you can lead the conversation wherever you want to. And by the way, we're going to have to work on some of the suggestions from the viewers. There were some really great suggestions about, us discussing the topic on Twitter, like some reasonable time before we stream, so that we can kind of settle on the underlying topics and then go for them. And potentially, which sounds super fun, but I don't even know how to technically do it, but to do some polls while we're doing a Twitch stream. That sounds super interesting for me. We can even do, some sort of challenges, some sort of leaderboards for people. So potentially that's interesting. But anyway, there was one question that I want to talk about today. And we're probably going to talk about this not only one time, because, it's a huge topic and we never touched upon it. Managing your money. Right, because one of the viewers on YouTube posted a comment on what's our approach to, like, his question was actually quite specific. He was saying, like, if I know what my bankroll is, how should I decide how much can I spend on coaching, how much I can spend on buying a new phone, how much can I spend in a restaurant, how much I can spend on a holiday, etc., etc. What's your approach to this?
For me, it's not that I have a limit or something. I do this nationally. It's just I don't spend that much money, especially not on big things. I would love to buy a nice car, but especially going to restaurants or like a phone.
Right. Tobi, sorry, I'm going to interrupt, but there's something with your sound. Is your mic still working?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is it better now?
Yeah, it is, because it was a bit weird.
Sorry.
So yeah, you mentioned the car, and I interrupted you. I just had what happened to that Tesla that you wanted? Where is it?
Oh, yeah, it's a little complicated. So I pre-ordered the Tesla, and I'm still thinking about buying it, but it's on hold for now. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about my situation now, but it's a little complicated because I move a lot. Like, I spend a few months in Germany, then I want to go to London, and I want to go back and forth. So it's not really worth it to have a car.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, so sorry for interruption. Just go ahead with your approach. So you're not spending that much money.
Yeah, I'm not spending that much money because I just don't like fancy restaurants, and I'm just not a big spender, so I don't have any problems with that.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember, like, as soon as you mentioned, I'm not a big fan of fancy restaurants. I remembered a couple stories from Vegas. Yeah. Wasn't there a situation that there was like a dinner with, I think like 10 guys, 12 guys, and there was a credit card roulette, so a little gamble for who's paying the bill. You ended up paying a bill which was like about 1,000 or something, and so everybody walked out, and the waiter was chasing you because you didn't leave enough tip.
Oh yeah, actually, thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Super embarrassed. Yeah, that was like a huge bill, and I was super pissed. And yeah, I wanted to give them a tip. It wasn't like I wasn't mean or anything. It's just I just didn't know how much to give, and I gave him like $50 or something, which was a lot for me. But obviously, it's always a percentage. So
yeah,
if you pay $1,000 bill, it's $1,000 check, then $50 is just not enough.
No.
And he was super pissed. And yeah, he was chasing one of my friends, and then showed him the $50 bill, and he said something like, "So that's what your friend gave me. Don't you think I deserve a little more?" Or something like that, which was super awkward.
Yeah. Oh, but that's Vegas for you. I mean, they really chase their tips, sometimes to the point where it's very, very annoying.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I mean, I think I can tell you what it is. I just like to eat a lot, and I don't want to wait for my food, and I feel like in fancy restaurants, oftentimes it's not really about the food. It's more about, I don't know what it is. It's just sitting there. And I think it's super boring, and I don't like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, me and restaurants. I love restaurants. I love especially the good ones. But I suppose we're not going to go into it right now because, the question started with the guy basically asking, should I spend part of my bankroll on coaching and or should I spend it on dinner or a phone? And then the two rich guys start talking about, yeah, it's like, I don't know, fancy restaurants, not a fan, am I a fan? Or the tipping culture, like, yeah, the guy was expecting like $150 tip. The Robbie expert is asking, and by the way, hey, good to see you in the chat. Isn't a tip mandatory in the US? Well, it's not mandatory, but it's basically like in Vegas, for example, and it's state by state, but in Vegas, like if you leave a 10% tip, it's basically you're not happy with the service, which is absolutely insane to me because, I mean, if I'm not happy, I don't want to leave a tip. What 10% are you talking about? But unfortunately, it's like that. You're gonna have to leave a tip every time. And so if you're happy, then clap your hands and give 20%. And yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. But anyway, so let's not get back. Sorry.
So yeah,
go ahead.
So to answer the question, I think it's super important if you have a big score, if you win a big tournament. I think it's important that you still don't spend much more, that you don't go out and just buy a fancy car or think that you can do that all the time and win another tournament next week, because sometimes it's not going to happen for a long, long time. And then you always need some money in the back, So yeah, I think that's the most important thing. And yeah, it has always worked for me. I never had a problem with that.
Right.
So maybe I'm also not the best guy to ask. What do you think?
No, I think because your approach is actually what usually works for most people, because I have the same approach of basically, because, a lot of people, what happens when you start earning more, they start spending more. So it's a never-ending sort of race to the top and then eventually to the bottom when, it doesn't matter how much you earn, you spend it. Which in poker is an insane approach because you don't know how much you earn. There's so much variance. You can actually have like 1 year of a sick good run. If you increase your expenses to the level of that yearly income that you had, well, what are you going to do when you start running bad, which is bound to happen, right? So not increasing your expenses in general is a very important point. And another aspect that you touched upon, for example, like when you win a tournament, you don't necessarily need to go out and buy a car or whatever, is concept that, is called not celebrating your victories, which I know a lot of people are actually doing outside of poker as well. Because basically, you need to keep your head straight and focus on the process, especially in any endeavor where you don't get a regular check, right? Because there's no safety net, there's no stability with like a regular income stream, Right, so you basically you can't allow yourself to go out and like celebrate. Yeah, I know so many people that don't play poker anymore. Used to be great players, but I remember it was especially one friend of mine. It was every time he would have a great session, he would go to the clubs that night, and sometimes the bill run into like 15,000 euro because he would pay for everyone. And I always thought, like, this is absolutely ridiculous. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's just insane.
Yeah. And it happens a lot. It happens a lot to people because, like, and, there's a lot of talk about motivating yourself by rewarding yourself if you achieve something, which is a great thing in general, but you should reward yourself for doing something right with your process. You can't reward yourself for something you can't control, which is you can't control how much you win on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I'm thinking back about the time, the last big tournament I won. And I remember this feeling. It wasn't like, oh, now I can, buy a big car or like an apartment or something. It was more like a relief, it just felt free. I just knew that I don't, have to play if I don't want to, and just do it out of fun. And it's just, yeah, it's not about buying something. It's just more about the freedom to me.
Right. But also, you see that there's another interesting aspect that we didn't even mention, which must be mentioned, because I see Robbie Expert is saying, or save it up for next life, which of course is very true. You can't take your money to the grave. But what a lot of people are forgetting is that if poker is a business for you, then why do you treat your bankroll as your personal finance, as your personal money? All right. Isn't like any other business, they have a business budget or, the funds for the business. And then you pay yourself a salary if you must. But for so many people, I see that, it's basically they're living off a bankroll, which is a crazy thing because let's say if you follow proper bankroll management guidelines, right, and you would be, let's say you rolled for your stakes and then you hit the downswing and okay, you move down and you keep grinding, etc., etc. But all of a sudden, when you realize that, hey, I've been paying the rent for my flat from the bankroll every month, so actually you can't even afford like 6 months of losing because in the end your rent just eats it all up. Which just goes to show, it's not a good bankroll management. Your bankroll is your bankroll. That's your business. And your personal finance is your personal finance.
Yeah, that's true. And there was also another question if you have all your money online. And I certainly don't. And I also wouldn't recommend that. I don't think that's smart.
Oh, yeah, definitely not a good idea, especially, some of us lived through the Black Friday and it was a bit stressful. So I think we learned from that experience for sure.
I mean, even after that, one time I had 35K or so on the side, and then the site went bankrupt, and I never saw the money again. It's just, yeah, it's heartbreaking. And if you have all your money on one side or even online, I mean, you never know. Like sites can go bankrupt, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, obviously, some poker sites have better reputation than others, but you can't really be sure. I don't know. I guess that also happened to you.
Not really. Well, yes and no. I had my money frozen on Ultimate Bet for quite some time, but then I repaid everyone, and it was actually a huge bonus. For me, that money was gone, and then many years later, I received an email. I was like, is this real? And yeah, I did receive my money, so it was amazing. And in fact, it was funny, that year when I received that email, because for most people it ended up in the spam, and you actually had to actively apply for the refund. So I was in Vegas that summer, and I was talking to some guys, and there's this guy. I'm not gonna mention his name actually, but and anyway, like most people wouldn't even know him, but he's an old timer from Vegas. He's about I want to say about 70, 75 years old, and he used to play on Ultimate Bet, and he had, well, at least he said, he claimed to have about $1 million there when it went bust. And so yeah, I told him, and he got it back. He never gave me any of that.
Wow.
But it was so funny because, literally I was talking to a friend of him. We were playing the same game, and we're talking something about, I don't know how that conversation even came up, something about Ultimate Bet. And I mentioned, yeah, but they're giving money back. And he's like, what do you mean they're giving money back? I'm like, yeah, they're doing it. And he said, hey, but I know this guy, he has $1 million there frozen. So we immediately went over to him and said, hey, that's the procedure. You need to do this and that. And then he got it back. It was insane. And the thing is, the way the process was set up, I don't know what would have happened with his money if nobody told him. Because it was like, there was just 1 month left before he can withdraw. And I mean, this guy's 75. I mean, he didn't even remember which email did he register on the site on. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what would happen there.
Wow, he got $1 million back,
Yeah.
and he didn't even invite you for a dinner or something.
No. Yeah, but the thing is, obviously, like, he would receive it in August, and I'm not sticking around, like calling him every day. Hey, did you receive your money back? How about a dinner? How about a bottle of wine? But it felt really good, to help out. Felt good.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So Coffee Attack was also asking another money question. How much living expenses do you have saved up as a professional poker player? And it's a great question, but there's, again, like if we talk about me or Tobi in this case, I think the situation is going to be different compared to people who are just starting out, right? And that's one of the trickiest part about starting out as a poker player. If you already have running expenses and poker is gonna be your only source of income, it's really tricky to separate the living expenses from the bankroll, which you absolutely must do. And that's why so many people fail, because you hit a downswing in the beginning and you realize, well, I can't support my life. And you just have to,
Yes, I also think that psychologically it's also way harder.
Oh yeah. If you know that basically, if this keeps going, like if I'm on this downswing for another, I don't know, 6 months, I'm broke. That is a horrible feeling. And I've experienced that feeling. I know that feeling. I've had that feeling many years ago, and I was not feeling very comfortable. There's so much pressure. Already you're not happy with being on a huge downswing, and there's so much pressure building up on if this keeps going, like, what are you going to do? So yeah, I can totally relate, and I know how difficult it is. In the beginning, clearly it's easier to start out when you have some savings, right? We hear about people who like turned $50 into $1 million playing poker, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful story. Most people have the same story. My story, I think, was I deposited like $300 or something and never looked back. But the reality is, if I lost $300, I could have deposited another $300 and another $300 and probably another $3,000, and I wouldn't be suffering because, when I switched to poker, I quit my pretty comfortable career that I had before, and I had a lot of savings. I could basically do nothing for a year and a half, while living a comfortable life, and I would still be fine.
Yeah, I think that's hugely important. For me, it was easy because I also started with the $50, but back in the days I was a student, so it just started as a hobby, and it just progressed like that, and it was just natural, I never really had to think about expenses before, and then when I earned enough money, it was quite easy. But I think that's the way it should be, It should start as a hobby, and there's so many obstacles on the way, so you shouldn't start playing poker and just think that you can turn it into a business, I think I would do it for fun first, and of course study a lot, and then later on decide if I want to become a professional player or not.
Yeah, that's really good as an advice, because also one other thing is that if you want to get into poker just for the money, like just because you think it's a good income, maybe you shouldn't. I literally had a discussion with a friend of mine last weekend. He was visiting, and we were talking about he's not a poker player. He has a, let's call it, a proper job, right? And he started thinking about many business ideas that he could do, right? And because he saved up quite some money, and he was talking about like, I could go into poker. I could, as a kind of hobby slash, part-time thing. I could do real estate. I could do this. I could do that. And I'm thinking to myself, and I told him that, listen, it sounds good. I know people making money in real estate, but what do you know about real estate? Do you actually know anything about real estate? Right? What do you know about poker? Did you ever try to play poker? What do you know about this? Because it's, on paper, if we just listen to the success stories of like, people make a lot of money here, people make a lot of money there, great, but majority of people are failing. If you check any business, any venture, if you look at the golf, right, it seems like, wow, golf is so hugely profitable. People make shitload of money. Well, most people make nothing. Most people who pursue it professionally, right? Same goes for real estate. I mean, sure, a lot of people are making a lot of money, but a huge amount of people are actually losing. And same goes for poker. In poker, probably, I mean, there's a select group of people who make a lot of money. There's a pretty sizable group of people who make comfortable living, so good enough money. And there is a lot of people who are struggling. But somehow,
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and somehow everybody forgets that just making decent money, why would you do that? Because you can make decent money in any other career, right? You just work in an office 9 to 5, you can make decent money. So if money is the motivation, it's a shitty job. There's better options. If your motivation lies elsewhere, like you want to experience the freedom, you want to experience the intellectual challenge of poker, you want to prove to yourself that you can improve, because like one of the beauties of poker is a constantly evolving puzzle that you need to solve, right? Plus there's the competitive aspect, plus there's the self-improvement aspect, and all the perks that come with poker. You can be free. You're free to do whatever you want with your time. You're free to move around wherever you want in the world. And it's a fun thing. There's a lot of fun stories along the way. You experience the world in a different way. You meet a lot of really cool people, really weird people. You sort of have a special life in a way, something that a lot of people would say, oh, like, this is really interesting. This is so much more interesting than my 9 to 5, right? So in poker, there's, of course, there are many things that go for poker, but just going...
See, everybody thinks that, but, studying ranges or sitting in front of the computer for 10 days sometimes, it's not that interesting, you know.
Oh,
I mean, for me or for us, it is, because it's a challenge. It's, you know, like a sport and fun and competitive. But for the average guy, it's just not that exciting, you know.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it comes back to like, you know, when we see anything in terms of success, like if we watch tennis or football or whatever, and you watch it and you think like, oh, I would want to do that. If you watch surfing, for example, the surfing in the high waves, or kite surfing, right? You're like, oh, wow, this is awesome. I'd love to do that. Well, let's say with kite surfing, it's probably going to take you a month before you can do anything really, because first you know, try the kite, then you know, fall a few times on your face, getting dragged on the sand, etc. We don't see, like most people don't see the ugly side of any profession because nobody talks about it, because why would you? It's, you know, people who want to talk about it, they just don't talk about anything in general.
Yeah. Here, Beto Buca is making a good point, actually. He's saying in Brazil it's much easier to earn money with poker than with any regular job, because the monthly wage is only $200.
Right. It's a great point. It's not only about, you know, in Brazil and so many other countries as well, because basically like the living standards are so relatively low, like the regular income is so low that it's pretty easy to reach a level in poker where you can make, I don't even know what do you think, Tobi? What is the number that would be relatively easy to achieve in poker?
500. I mean, but then again, what is easy for you? Let's say with 2 months of preparation.
Yeah, that sounds easy.
That's easy. Okay. So, yeah, I would guess around 500.
Yeah, probably. I mean, 500 definitely should be easy. Probably even more. But again, good point you're making. Like, what is easy? What is easy? What do we mean by easy? But still, probably like you can make 500 if you put in work, right? If you actually go for it. Now, 500 in Europe, you can't afford to rent a flat, right? 500 in Brazil, some parts of Brazil, you're probably pretty okay.
Oh, but actually, now that I think about it, I think it's not that easy. I think you can acquire the skills to earn 500 a month, but you still need a bankroll.
Oh, yeah.
And that
yeah.
takes some time.
Yeah, that's true. Bankroll is always the limiting factor. And also, if we think about acquiring skills, you know, some of the skills are pretty hard to acquire because they're the soft skills of, you know, just dealing with the variance, dealing with making the decisions consistently over a long period of time. You know, not burning out, just staying focused, etc., etc. It doesn't come naturally to anyone. Like I think probably gamers have an advantage, slight, because that's why we see so many people from the gaming background. And by the way, I'm not one of them, but a lot of people with gaming background sort of find poker easier to get into because they're already used to making a lot of decisions quickly, you know, and dealing with some variance, dealing with swings, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think they're also used to just sitting in front of the computer for a long, long time. I think that's also a big part.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, the patience. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't call it patience, but just, you know, the endurance to sit in front of a computer and, you know, not go outside and, you know, do other stuff.
Yeah, and not go outside. That's also a good point, you know, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with, you know, you give somebody too much freedom and they get obsessed with, let's say, poker, and they kind of spiral downwards. Like I've seen so many people, especially, the human mentality of, oh, I need to get my losses back. You hit a downswing and you just keep playing long sessions. You show up every day, not taking any days off. Eventually, you're like a zombie. That's also a skill you need to learn. You need to switch off. When you have a regular 9 to 5, your boss tells you when to switch off. He says, hey, it's 5 o'clock. I'm not paying you anymore. There's no overtime. You piss off. Go home. When you're doing it on your own, there's nobody there to tell you, listen, it's time to quit, and you're actually tired and you play like shit. So, go take a shower, go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just more responsibilities. I mean, everything, how you structure your day, when you play, how often you play, how much you play. But yeah, I mean, for some guys like me, I think it's super good, and it just gives you the freedom, but also it can also be negative for other players.
Yeah.
And actually, that's also something I want to improve this year, like the way I structure my day. Just, I think a fixed schedule is good. So for me, I always want to play more on Saturdays and Sundays. And also it's better if I get up every day at the same time, have my meal at the same time. Just a regular structure. It also helps me with poker. I just feel like I'm more focused, and also it just makes it easier to also take some time off and, think about something else and get a nice workout and stuff like that. Because a lot of time when I traveled a lot, it's not that easy, You still feel jet lagged, and then you have to get up and work out. It's just sometimes you don't really want to, and then you don't know where you can get good food, and you always have to find a new gym and a new restaurant. There's just no structure. So that's why I'm also pretty excited to play more online this year.
Yeah, you're going to love it, because I had the same transition. Because obviously, like, if we think 2 years ago, I probably spent like 6 months of the year on the road, going to different stops and I probably spent like a month in LA, 2-3 months in Vegas, and all the things that you're talking about, especially on the short trips, the jet lag, the constant moving around, the hotels, the shitty food, etc., etc. So for me, being at home was so enjoyable. That basically from mid last year, I didn't go anywhere for any poker trip. And what a change. Because all of the things that you've mentioned that you would like to try and you would like to get into, like waking up at the same time, having a regular schedule, basically having regular hours, it's great. It's great. It feels great. I'm playing better. I find more time to study with better quality. So it all kind of pays dividends, and it's great. Yeah. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so too. So Beto Puka is saying a lot of the regular poker players in Brazil are backed by teams. Have you ever thought about doing that?
Backing players?
Like building your own team?
I mean, I'm busy enough already with having my students with BluffTheSpot. Because reality is, again, we come to the same thing of, real estate is profitable, this is profitable, that is profitable. There's so many things that are profitable. Every single thing takes time. And if you do a half-assed job on anything, you're going to get half-assed results. So you really actually have to go with it. You need to work on it, right? So no, I haven't been thinking about it, because in fact, I'm trying to figure out ways to reduce the amount of work I have to do, because right now, sometimes it's pretty overwhelming. Like even this YouTube thing, right? It's cool on paper, but once once you need to actually start doing the job, like editing the videos, putting them out, etc., etc. And mind you, I have people who are helping me with this, and they're great people, and they're doing a good job. But I still participate in every single thing there, and it eats away so much of my time every day that sometimes I'm not very happy about it. I'm thinking like, well, you know, my main thing is playing poker. That should be priority, and that is my priority, and I want it to be a priority. So which means that studying poker should be my second priority. Helping my students clearly is also a priority, but that comes together with, like, when I'm helping my students, I'm actually refreshing some of the ideas for myself, so that helps with my own studies. You know, it's sort of complementary. It helps me along the way. And then there's like a pileup of a huge amount of different administrative things and etc., etc. So every other new project that you pick up just eats away so much of your time. So no, I don't plan to start building my own teams. And you know, just the idea of how much bookkeeping, etc., etc. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, to be honest, that's what I hate the most about poker. It's just the bookkeeping. I'm just not good at it.
I mean, good at it or not, even because, like, say you're not good at it, well, you just hire a guy or two guys who have a team. But then again, like, you know, sometimes I don't even want to check my phone when I see all the messages. Like, oh, Jesus, do I have to answer now all of these things, you know, but it has to be done, right? So, yeah, I mean, everybody has to be kind of careful with piling up small projects, because I really believe that, you know, if you want to succeed in any endeavor, there's no easy way. There's no like quick scheme how to achieve something or start producing something of quality. You have to do the work. You know, even if you have a team of people helping you, you still do the work. You still, you know, coordinate things. So yeah. It's something I think that a lot of poker players are getting carried away. And we had earlier a question. Well, I don't want to scroll up in the chat, but one of you guys asked right here today, so what do you do with your money? Do you invest? Do you put it in the savings account, etc., etc.? What I see a lot of poker players do is, you know, start doing some weird investments, like, you know, venture capital investments and real estate investments and investments in cryptocurrencies, etc., etc. And I always have a question like, what do you actually know about what you're doing? Like, what are you doing? You have no idea. You're just jumping into something because somebody told you it's a great idea. And I have no problem of, you know, you find an expert in the field, hopefully a field that is proven to be, you know, stable and real, and it's a proven expert, and then you trust them with your money, and obviously don't put all your eggs in one basket, etc., etc. But so many people from poker, and for a longest time I struggled with it myself and probably still struggle with it on occasion, is we feel that we could do anything, right? Like, oh yeah, I can do that, and I'm gonna do it myself, because that's basically what poker is about. In the end of the day, you're doing your job yourself. Everything is kind of manual labor, and it translates to so many other aspects of our lives, I feel.
Yeah, there's even a term for that. I forgot the term, but there's even some research on it. So when you're successful in one field, you think that you can do it everywhere, but it's just not the case, you know. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I also see it like that, you know, if I think eventually I want to, you know, buy a house or an apartment somewhere, or even if I make big investments, I just want to spend a lot of time and really know what I'm doing, you know. I think, yeah, that's hugely important. Because right. I've seen it before, you know. A guy wins a lot of money playing poker, and then he just loses it all with stupid investments. It's happened so many times before.
Yeah, and it's going to keep happening. And also, you know, the notion of doing everything yourself, right? Because we're so used to just doing the work. That, you know, you're gonna buy a house, well, you're just gonna do it yourself, right? Instead of, and I mean, I know you, I'm sure that you would be smarter about it, and, you know, especially once you understand more about how poker works and how important the team is and how important a coach is, you realize that, well, so many other aspects of your life also need a team, also need a coach, and you're better off getting advice from people who know what they're doing instead of trying to discover things for yourself, right? And even if we just talk about something simple like buying a house, you know, most of us poker players that we just know how a house looks. That's where our knowledge ends, right? So, you know, buying a house that we have no idea. Of course, you need somebody to help you, and of course, you're better off finding somebody who's genuinely willing to help you, not just somebody who wants to increase their commissions.
I also think that Coffee Attack is making a good point here. He's saying that you need to do significantly better at poker than you would at a normal job, because there's a major opportunity cost going pro. And yeah, I think that's very important, and I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And you know, that's also something that's always in the back of my mind. That's also what keeps me going. You know, I always feel like I could do more and I could earn more, because it's all about my future and about the freedom. And yeah, I mean, it's also a little scary, but it also motivates me. And that's also one of the reasons why I don't spend much on fancy cars or hotels or stuff like that.
Right. It's a really good point that you're bringing up, but it's because, you know, clearly we're not getting social benefits unless you're investing in your own pension fund or something. And clearly it's something important because, you know, like Coffee Attack is saying, it might not even last forever. You know, even though I'm not one of those pessimists who are like, oh, poker is on decline. Because if you listen, poker has been on decline for like 25 years, you know, and somehow, you know, there's always some pessimists. But still, that being said, you need to have money aside. You need to have the security. So to work towards it is something really important. And of course, you have all the opportunity cost. Because every decision you make has a cost, basically. And decision of going pro in poker is exactly that. And, you know, the cost of it is just pretty hard to get back to a normal, to re-enter the workforce. But that being said, you get to, like, especially if you go and play live, you meet so many people, you network, etc., etc. So it's a double, you know, I don't know. I can't be just that one-sided. I think poker has presented me with a lot of opportunities, business-wise and otherwise, which I wouldn't have if I wasn't in playing poker. And most of those opportunities I even passed on because I still would just want to do what I do, focus on poker. But that being said, I'm sure if I wasn't playing poker, I'd be doing something else, and probably, you know, I don't know how it would look like.
I mean, you had a real job before.
Yeah, I had a real job before. I had a real career before. And, you know, for me, the big change in the transition was when I had the real job, I mean, it wasn't just any standard job. So I had like a really, really tough working schedule. We were a small company in terms of numbers of employees, but we were one of the leading companies in the market in terms of revenue. So we had a lot of clients and we had a lot of work. And I remember for 5 years, I had like 4 vacations, like 4 weeks of vacation or 5 weeks of vacation, something like that. On every week of my vacation, I would go somewhere, so I would travel. But every trip would be ridiculous. I would leave to the airport from the office. I would come back Sunday night or Monday morning and go straight back to the office. it was just insane. So that was one of the reasons why I decided, okay, this is enough. I might just, because it wasn't my initial idea to just quit the job and go into poker. My idea was I quit the job and I do nothing. I just rest a bit and I see what happens. And, I just started playing poker for fun. And then I realized, wait a minute, I actually can make a lot of money doing this. So, yeah.
Okay, here's a fun question. Do you think you would have earned more with your other job?
Good question. Well, if we think about it, so I've been playing poker for over 10 years. I don't even know. I don't know how many years. 12 years? Who cares? Anyway, more than 10 years. Would I be making more money? I might have a net worth bigger if I stayed in the career, because it was a lucrative career. And probably I would have moved up decently in that career as well. So my net worth might have been higher. But my health probably would have been much worse. And my life would probably sucked. I think so.
Okay.
Because to be honest, in these 12 years, I've met so many incredible people. I've experienced so many super fun things. I've seen so many countries, made so many trips. Probably have some really cool stories to tell to my grandchildren, hopefully. Some crazy things from the life trips, etc., etc. And these, even sometimes thinking back at those things just makes me smile. And how much money is that worth, right? Because also, like, one aspect, and we've talked about it with you before, once you reach a certain net worth or a certain income, increasing it a bit doesn't change your life, really. Once you reach a comfortable level, you're just comfortable, and that's it. So even if, and I don't think so, but even if I would have like double net worth if I was to persuade my original career, it probably wouldn't be worth it for me if, losing all the things, all the experiences that I gained from playing poker, that would suck.
Yeah. I mean, I never had a real job before, but even thinking about having a regular 9 to 5 and working in an office, it seems like a nightmare to me almost. I don't know, maybe it's just in my mind, but it's just not something I want to do.
Yeah, but also, you know what? 9 to 5, such a waste of time. The thing that I hate the most about a conventional career, and I've worked as a consultant for so many companies in my career before poker, so I saw so many companies from within. People waste so much fucking time. 9 to 5. 9 to 5 includes, a big lunch break, a fucking trillion coffee stops, a cigarette break, a conversation with this, a conversation with that, a little meeting where one guy's talking and nobody's listening, all this bullshit. So in the end, you're productive like 1.5 hours a day. When you're playing poker, if you do 8 hours, you actually do 8 hours. Right? So we work way harder than the 9 to 5. Guaranteed. Even if you only work on poker, let's say you work 4 hours a day, you work harder than like 95% of people who do 9 to 5.
Okay, that's interesting because I had the theory before, but I thought maybe it's just me because I never had a real job. So, but yeah, you just confirmed it.
And I truly believe this is very accurate. Obviously, a lot of companies try to change their corporate structures and you know, et cetera, et cetera. But even like if you think about the trends recently, like so many companies are trying to reduce the work week to like, you know, give you 1 day to work on your own project or work at home, et cetera, et cetera. And it just shows, and it, you know, the research there shows that people increase their productivity where they're given more freedom. Otherwise, 9 to 5, you just waste most of your day. You piss it off.
Yeah, it also makes more sense to me. You know, just it should come down to results, and like the amount you work, should not the hours.
Well,
you know,
exactly,
as a boss, you should say, okay, this is what I want, get the job done, and how much time you need is just not important.
Exactly. So, you know, with the poker players, a lot of poker players underestimate actually how hard they work. You know, a lot of people come into this career thinking like, okay, it's going to be a breeze. I'm going to have so much freedom. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to just enjoy my life. Well, yeah, if you structure your day correctly, if you approach things correctly, you know, but in reality, you're going to work really hard to achieve anything, right? Playing, because just playing is not going to get you anywhere. You need to study as well. You need to understand the concepts. You know, some people are gifted enough that they can sort of learn as they go while they play, but that's a huge minority. Mostly you need to work away from the tables, which is a boring part and which is something a lot of people are not used to. Because, you know, if you're used to 9 to 5, you're not used to studying away from your table, so to say, right? So that's something new to you.
Yeah, but also I would guess that it would be good for you in any job, no matter what job you have.
Of course it would be. Yeah. Anyway, we're going really philosophical here on a lot of things, but I think it's actually important topic that we didn't talk before, much before. You know, this thing that, yeah, poker is freedom, etc., but it's really hard. It's hard work, and I think people need to understand it. I mean, especially people who are thinking about going into it as a career, even if it be like a part-time thing. It's still important to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, for me, it's part of the fun that it is so hard, because that way you just always have to improve, and it's just more competitive, and that's also what I like about. Just giving 100% every day. That's what I love.
Yeah.
And Coffee Attack is asking if we see ourselves playing for the rest of our life, like Doyle.
Wow. Nice question.
Talking about myself, I think I can. You know, maybe not professionally, but I just also really love the game. And I think, you know, even in 20 years, I will still love the game. And even if it's only, you know, 5 tournaments a year, I will still do it. I'm pretty sure. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it as well. I haven't really made a decision to do it for the rest of my life like Doyle. Because, I don't know, Doyle is super special, right? I don't know. Just seeing this guy sitting there in his, you know, mobile chair in the Bobby's room every day, it's like, wow, I don't know. But I definitely see myself still playing in the long term, still playing and enjoying the game.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't grind that hard. And also I wouldn't be that good, I guess, because he's still such a legend. Bobby's room every day, grinding 4 hours. Yeah. And I don't even know how old he is, but
he's like 84 or something.
84?
I don't know exactly, but over 80 for sure. Somebody might know. So
yeah, that's just incredible.
Tell us in the chat. But yeah, that's incredible. But for me, you know, if I stay long term, I think I would, like the way I see myself, let's say if I had to imagine, like if I'm still playing poker in 10 years from now, how would it look like? To me, I would want to study a lot and play not so much. And that might be weird. That might be weird. Like most people usually see like, oh, I love poker. I want I want to play. Like Galfond, right? He wants it's insane what he's doing right now, right? I mean, he's basically signing up for playing poker till May, every day, 5 days a week. To me, that's insane. But to him, it's amazing. To me, it would be super interesting. Like, listen, for 5 months, I'm gonna study every day, 4 hours a day, and I'm gonna play like 2 days a week. I would be like, yeah, that's cool. Galfond's probably gonna be like, oh, you're crazy. This is ridiculous, you know. So different things for different people. But to me, that's really the most interesting part, this intellectual challenge of discovering things, and especially discovering more efficient ways, more effective techniques to study and to, understand concepts and to conceptualize and to retain information.
I had the same with chess. When I was younger, when I was like 6 or something, I started with chess. And back then I was super competitive, played a lot of tournaments, played a lot of hours. And now I don't do that anymore. But I still enjoy the game. And every once in a while I play for an hour or two, and it's super, super much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be the same with poker.
Yeah, it might be.
I also think that when you get older, it's just not the same anymore. You can't play 8 tables online for 7 hours. It's just, I don't think it's possible anymore. I might be wrong, but I already feel like when I was 20, 21, I could play more tables and longer sessions.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But also it's a factor of, when you were 20, the games were so much softer. Like, even if you were younger, so you just have more energy, but still it was way less draining to play because there's not much to think about. Just clicking buttons, making money, easy game.
Oh, I dropped something, sorry.
What did you drop?
A fork. Nothing bad. Just a mess here.
Okay. Getting old, man. That was funny. Drop the fork.
Yeah, I think the main thing is the reaction time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes down.
I don't know, man. I think right now I'm making decisions quicker than I ever was able to before.
Okay, how come?
Because I work on my decision making every day. Because that's what I set out to do. I'm improving the way I'm playing, and that's what's happening.
Okay,
that being said, like before I was able to play 24 tables, I wouldn't be able to play 24 tables now. I probably wouldn't be able to play 12. But if I would have 4 tables back then and 4 tables right now, I'm definitely making decisions quicker right now. Which is a paradox, right? Because before, I was playing like 24 tables and I was able to make decisions on those, but the quality of them were just crap comparably.
So, but maybe you're a little slower, but you have more experience.
Yeah, well, that's true. And experience that translates in actionable things, And Rufus is saying he railed me a bit, and I play very fast. Thank you. I do actually play pretty fast. Like sometimes not so fast because I'm still struggling when I have like different sites, and especially when new tables are starting. So there's like moving things around on the layout, etc., etc. So it might slow down. But I really feel. When I'm playing live, I'm just annoyingly fast, I think. It's usually just everything is instant decision and just pisses people. Well, I mean, most people actually like it because it's, I prefer to play against people who play fast as well. But sometimes it's annoying when somebody hero calls you with a snap call on the river, and you're like, just, oh, fuck.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask, why can this be annoying? Because I think it's super cool. But
Well,
yeah,
it's
snap
super
hero
cool,
call
but they just feel intimidated because, it's just like, this guy again. But, what am I going to do? I'm not playing tournaments. I don't need to, like, balance my timing or whatever. Who cares, right?
Okay, but not if you know you want to call, but maybe if you want to check raise on the river, then
Oh,
you
I
just...
snap check raise as well. Everything is a snap. Because basically, like, if you imagine, like, the card is coming so slow, if you compare it to the speed of online. Everything is like slow motion when you play live. I know what I'm going to do before the card is there. I know if it's going to be a 9 of clubs, I'm going to do this. Boom, it's a 9 of clubs, I'm all in, let's go.
Wow, that's that's impressive. Because that's a mistake I see myself doing all the time. I mean, maybe not all the time, but sometimes, is that some spots are just difficult, and you have to think them through. And I don't balance that sometimes. So
Right.
there, for example, some spots when you want to bluff, you have to really think about it with all the blockers and anti-blockers. And then if you have the nuts, you don't have to, because okay, you have the nuts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, sure. There's spots that you need to think more about, but majority of decisions are pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I think it's still important to see those spots.
Yeah.
Especially when you're multi-tabling.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Ponyball, I'm looking is a pretty good idea as well. He's saying that with the work ethics you build while being a poker player, those work ethics are a great edge for someone going back to normal job. And I think with Tobi, we discussed it in one of our previous streams, that it's so true for the successful players, right? Because the successful players usually are successful because they develop these techniques, this discipline, this commitment to the game, the approach to the studies, etc., etc. But it's like, I don't know percentage-wise, but there's a huge amount of poker players which are not successful. So for the not successful ones to go back to a real job, that's where the problem lies, not for the crushers out there, because they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And Rufus is asking, what are the minimum stakes to join BluffTheSpot PLO coaching? I think, there is some minimum, but you're better off just send a message to our guys. Just basically send an application. I'm going to post the link below right now. Just send an application. It's non-binding, so it's not like you are committing to anything when you send the application. Send the application. There are a few questions that are asked in the form, and then our guys are going to quickly get in touch with you and answer all of the questions. And yeah, so basically anybody can apply. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't take much of your time. Just apply. You're going to get all the information you need, and you take it from there. Of the bar is saying Doyle will outlast us all. That sounds scary. Imagine if it's true. But he is like a cockroach. I mean, he's going to survive a nuclear blast and still going to be playing poker.
That's a good title for the YouTube video. Doyle Brunson is a cockroach.
Well, that's pretty horrible. But Doyle Brunson is going to outlast us all. That's a pretty good... That's a good title. Doyle is going to outlast us all. Jesus.
I mean, it's entirely possible.
Yeah. And Ponyball is saying that people outside of poker won't believe it, though, about your work ethic, etc., etc. I think It doesn't matter what they believe, because with your work ethic, because like I said, like basically successful poker players, they actually work their ass off. They work way harder than anybody on a normal job. The thing is, if you're used to it, you're gonna take these skills with you to any profession that you go for. And guess what? If you put in double the effort than the next guy, you should get better results. You should get promotion. You should get further. Obviously, some companies don't have that culture, so don't go for those companies. That's it.
That's also one thing I love about poker. The proof is in the pudding, and you just don't have to prove anything to anybody. There's no boss who has to like you or whatever. You don't have to try to be different, to be more likable or whatever. You can just do whatever you want, and it's just your work ethic and your results.
Yeah, it's so true. In fact, leaving your ego outside of the equation is hugely important. If you're trying to, sort of prove something to the world, you're just gonna have a hard time.
Yeah, I was also talking about the politics.
Listen, how about, because we need to wrap it up soon. Arthur is coming on the stream, and I think we covered a lot of really cool topics, and I'm sure we're going to revisit some of them. And again, guys, go to my YouTube channel and, comment on that previous video, the video from last week, to get you a chance of getting a 1-hour free coaching. But before we go, I want to bring up the GalfondChallenge. How about that? Let's rail it a bit.
Okay, cool.
Because, I'm not even sure how it's gonna. I'm so excited. I can't wait. And like I said, I'm probably gonna be commentating as well on their channel or some of the times. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm gonna commentate for 1 hour and they're gonna ask me to go. You never know. It can happen. So anyway, what we see is that Venny is basically crushing Phil on one of the tables, I assume, because we don't know. Maybe it's... Yeah, I would assume that, he's probably up about 5 buy-ins there. And on the other one, I suppose he's losing a bit. The swings are going to be so insane. Like 25,000 hands of heads-up PLO. It's a pity they don't have some sort of hand counter to know how many hands have been played so far, or the results counter. That would be really cool if they do it. But yeah, it's gonna be so interesting, and especially like, imagine when they finish this session, they both still go back to work. They go back to analyzing the hands, analyzing what happens. So even though they play only 4 hours a day, every day, it doesn't mean that they sit around, drink coffee or whiskey the rest of the day. They're going to be back at work.
Yeah, maybe they even have a team in the background working on it.
Well, not maybe. They definitely both have a team working behind the scenes. So, which is fine, which is how it's supposed to be, and which is part of the game. Anybody who wants to achieve anything, they need people around them. That's why we're coaching. The people that we coach, they gain basically from our knowledge, from our expertise, and from our advice. And likewise, ourselves, we have people that we can reach out to for advice, and that's how it should be. So Ponyball is asking if it's the 1 hour free coaching. Yeah, it's PLO code. Well, I haven't decided yet. I literally haven't decided yet. I will see, because people will be selected at random, and I'm gonna talk to people before I do the coaching. And I'll see what we come up with. Because the thing is, with the 1 hour coaching, if I want to give as much value to the people as possible, I shouldn't make it too specific. I shouldn't make it about some obscure topic. I should make it about something like the top 3 tips that are going to change your life kind of thing, right? So yeah, I'll see what the thing is going to be about, but probably also depends on the feedback from the people who are going to be selected for the coaching session, because I want it to be as useful as possible to all of those who are participating.
For me, it's also interesting because I'm not experienced when it comes to deep stack play in headset. So I think I can learn a lot, and there's going to be a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff, but I think they have a stipulation that I think once the effective stack sizes get pretty deep, they are allowed to open a new table. So I don't think we're going to see too much of like 500 big blind deep poker or even 300 big blind deep poker. I don't think there's going to be much of that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think there is that stipulation, which actually I believe is benefiting Veni here a bit. And also I saw that, Veni VD doesn't have an auto rebuy. So basically he might be also going shorter stack if he loses some from his initial buy-in of 100 big blinds deep. And I believe that also gives him a slight edge over Phil in those situations, because he's definitely much better prepared for the short stack play than Phil is. Right, so I don't know, Tobi, what else would you want to see in this challenge? Like for me, really the hand count and that the results are missing.
I love stats. I mean, obviously you can see like a HUD or like HUD stats, but even after a session, like everything, that would be super cool.
Yeah, if they do like a recap analysis of something, that would be cool. I suppose maybe they're gonna post some information somewhere on, oh, by the way, there are showdowns. So that's cool.
Hope we can see one.
Yeah, we could see one, we could see two. So that's cool, yeah. I like it. It's a great idea. I'm so happy that Phil is doing it. I don't know if he's gonna win this one. And to be honest, if he's not gonna win this one, it's just gonna get tougher and tougher and tougher for him, just mentally. Imagine you lose the first one and you happen to lose a ton of money along the way. Because sure, he has a $200 side bet versus Veni here. But 200, it's like 10 buy-ins only. So if the challenge goes bad, I mean, this can just go horrible. One thing that I actually didn't know that they had, and I was surprised to learn it, that they can quit at any time if they forfeit their side bet.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So basically, if you're stuck like $1 million. And by the way, we have a new follower, Nick. Thanks for following. Appreciate it. So yeah, if you're stuck like $500,000, at any point you might just decide, okay, had enough, let's go, bye-bye.
Yeah, I think it's super unlikely.
It really depends. I think nobody would make a decision to quit based on the results. One of them might make a decision to quit if they realize that the other guy has a huge edge. And in this case, I think Phil might be the one who might realize that he's an underdog.
Why do you think that?
I don't think that's going to happen. But I think if one of them is going to be the guy who's going to be surprised, that it's got to be Phil, not Veni.
Okay,
VD.
But I think for him it's even harder to quit because it's his challenge.
Yeah, but I mean, it's his challenge, but he's a very smart guy. So he's not going to do something that hurts him, you know? I don't think he's going to quit, mind you. I don't think this is going to happen. I hope that this is going to play out. Again, like, I don't know if it's actually going to be 25,000 hands, because imagine a situation where, let's say, well, I'm not going to make up the numbers because I didn't calculate it, but imagine if you reach a point where there's like so many hands left, like 1,000 hands left, and somebody is up enough to just be able to fold all of the remaining hands and still get the side bet.
Okay. But even then, I feel like Galfond wouldn't lose much, but then he would lose a lot if he just quits in terms of reputation. And I can't imagine he would ever do that.
I don't know what does he lose in terms of reputation, though. His reputation is kind of hedged here. He came into the challenge saying that he is a recreational player nowadays, basically, which is, of course, not exactly true. But I don't think anybody's reputation would be hurt. I mean, in the end of the day, if you're making a decision based on some real information, you really realize, okay, the other guy's crushing me, so I can't continue. Because you see it, you can't say, okay, listen, I need a week off, and then we get back to the game. I need a week, I need to study, I need to understand what's going on. It's not going to happen. There's no breaks. You have to keep going every day.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand, but it's also his business, and I guess it will also be bad for the site, and I just feel he would never do that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't know.
I think so, that he would never do that, but I think it would be worse for his business if he is losing like 2.5 million to Veni. When everybody...
Nah, I'm not sure about that.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. I hope nobody actually loses 2.5 million. Like, to be honest, I hope this is going to be a really close match, because I really want to see some cool action and potentially learn something along the way, you know. And I'll definitely keep following Phil's play as much as I can when I can find some time, because I'm still contemplating on maybe playing versus him in one of those challenges at some point. But yeah, it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
so yeah,
you gotta analyze everything.
Yeah,
every little detail.
Exactly. Anyway, guys. Oh, by the way, Nick, I see that you watched the PLO videos on YouTube and liked it. Hopefully, so thanks for that. I appreciate it. Anyway, all of you guys. So Ponybo is saying, if Galfond gives up, people would just say that's sad, but how humble. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it wouldn't hurt his reputation. Phil's just such a nice guy. I mean, he has a very good reputation, big heart, and he can do no wrong. He's still gonna come out all right. I think so.
Yeah, but it's his challenge, you know. It was his idea. It's his baby. It would be a little awkward to quit.
I don't know. Again, because you see, we've discussed it today, like, you have to leave your ego out. I'm sure Phil is not in it to prove anything to the rest of the world. He's in it for his personal reasons. So his ego is supposed to stay at home. I mean, this is business. You have to make good business decisions. If it's time to quit, it's time to quit.
Yeah, true. But maybe he would also hurt his other business, the poker side. I don't know.
I don't know. How would it? I mean, think about it this way. Like Rob Young, right? Party poker. He's a fucking fish, in a way, like spewing money around at the tables, right? Not that he's a very bad player or anything, but he just spews around publicly. Or that Leon guy, right? Just spewing the money, making bad decisions. They're fine. Their business is fine, right? Leon had that scandal, a court case or whatever, you know. He's fine. Publicity is publicity. As long as Phil keeps making good decisions business-wise, he's going to be just fine.
Okay, that's true.
Because either way, you know, you can't please everyone. If he quits, there's gonna be some people calling him pussy and, you know, saying, Phil I'm disappointed, you're the worst, blah, blah, blah. If he doesn't quit, when some people believe that he should quit, there's gonna be people saying, you're an idiot, you should have quit, I thought you're a professional. You know, you can't please anyone, everyone, you know, there's gonna be always people who like it, people who don't like it. Same with anything. Same with our conversation today. And I'm sure there's people who thought like, this is bullshit. And I'm sure there's people who thought, oh, this is amazing. You know, so hopefully there's more people who like the content. And but in the end, I mean, even if there's just like 2 guys who took something away today that is gonna be really helpful and in some way gonna change their life to the better, I'll be super happy about it.
True. Oh, I just saw that the fans are waiting for Arthur.
Yeah, we add in 10 minutes into Arthur's time. Sorry, guys. So anyway, we're off. Arthur is coming right now, I suppose. Maybe a tiny break and he's here. So sorry about that. And yeah, enjoy his stream. It's always entertaining. This video is going to end up on YouTube this weekend. So if you missed any parts, just, you know, go on YouTube. We're going to have timestamps, so you're going to be able to jump around and find the topics that you want to hear about. All right.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Tobi, for joining me again. And thank you all, guys. See you next week. Bye.